Hello, everyone. Today, we unravel the story of Cyntoia Brown, a tale that begins long before the courtroom. Growing up, Cyntoia faced relentless trauma, including repeated assaults and exploitation. Can you shed light on how her early experiences shaped her worldview?
Absolutely. Childhood trauma, especially from abuse and neglect, can profoundly impact a young person's sense of self-worth. In Cyntoia's case, the constant threat and normalization of violence set the stage for what followed. She was barely a teenager, yet already surviving in crisis mode.
It's heartbreaking to imagine a teenager internalizing such harm. That brings us to the role of her boyfriend, who not only exploited her but also reinforced damaging beliefs. How did his words affect her psyche?
His words like saying people are born to be whores became a toxic mantra for Cyntoia. This kind of psychological manipulation traps victims in cycles of abuse, making escape seem impossible. For her, survival was confused with identity.
Building on that, let's explore the mechanics of entrapment. Many listeners might not realize how sex trafficking operates. Can you explain the process, perhaps using analogies for clarity?
Think of trafficking like a spider's web. Victims are lured by false promises or forced through violence. Once caught, it's nearly impossible to break free without help. Traffickers isolate victims, making them reliant for basic needs. Cyntoia's boyfriend used drugs, threats, and emotional coercion.
Often, the public imagines trafficking as abduction by strangers, but Cyntoia's case shows it's more insidious sometimes. The perpetrator is a trusted figure.
Exactly. Most victims know they're traffickers. According to Polaris Project, up to 80% of minors trafficked in the U.S. are exploited by someone familiar, friend, relative, or romantic partner.
Now, let's revisit the pivotal night in 2004. Cyntoia met a man who revealed his gun collection, a detail that's often overlooked. How might fear and survival instincts have played into her actions that night?
Imagine being a 16-year-old already traumatized, alone with an armed stranger. The presence of guns could easily trigger panic and hypervigilance. Trauma experts compare such moments to being a trapped animal. Fight, flight, or freeze are the only options perceived.
After the shooting, she took his truck, wallet, and gun. Some argue this points to premeditation, but could those actions also reflect a confused attempt to escape?
Absolutely. Fleeing the scene with whatever was available may have been a desperate survival strategy. Trauma distorts perception. What looks like theft could be an act of self-preservation.
Transitioning to the legal aftermath, Cyntoia was tried as an adult, despite being only 16. What are the implications of prosecuting minors in adult courts?
Trying juveniles as adults ignores critical neuroscience. The adolescent brain, especially areas governing impulse and judgment, isn't fully developed until the mid-20s. The American Psychological Association warns this leads to harsher sentences without accounting for rehabilitation potential.
It's worth noting that over 200 youth are prosecuted as adults in the U.S. each year. Many, like Cyntoia, have histories of trauma. What alternatives exist?
Specialized juvenile courts, trauma-informed interventions, and restorative justice programs show better outcomes, reducing recidivism and addressing root causes.
As the case gained attention, Cyntoia was repeatedly labeled a teen prostitute by both media and the court. How does this language shape public perception and justice outcomes?
Such terms are not only inaccurate, they're deeply harmful. No child can consent to prostitution under U.S. law. This framing blames victims rather than exposing the systems exploiting them, further entrenching stigma and bias in courtrooms and communities.
It's striking that even legal professionals perpetuate these myths. Why does this outdated language persist, despite growing awareness of trafficking?
Old habits and systemic bias play a role, but also a lack of training. Even today, only 37 states have laws clarifying that minors involved in commercial sex are trafficking victims, not criminals.
While incarcerated, Cyntoia began studying for a degree and encountered the term sex trafficking for the first time. What does this say about the gaps in our social and educational systems?
It's telling that a survivor like Cyntoia only learned the truth in prison. This highlights a glaring failure in schools, social services, and law enforcement to educate youth about exploitation. Access to information can be life-changing, yet it's often denied to those who need it most.
Her reaction, "Why am I only now learning this?" captures a wider injustice. How might earlier education have changed her life trajectory?
Early intervention, awareness campaigns, and comprehensive sex education could have helped her recognize abuse, seek help, or avoid dangerous situations altogether.
It took Cyntoia nearly 10 years to identify herself as a trafficking victim. What psychological barriers make it so hard for survivors to accept their victimhood?
Survivors often experience shame, self-blame, and denial. Abusers manipulate them into believing exploitation is their fault. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, forming emotional bonds with abusers as a coping strategy. For Cyntoia, societal misconceptions compounded this struggle.
That's a powerful insight. In your experience, do stories like hers help other survivors break through similar barriers?
Absolutely. When survivors see their experiences reflected and validated, it can be transformative. Community and storytelling are vital tools for healing and advocacy.
Let's turn to her years in prison. 15 years is a lifetime, especially for someone so young. How do incarcerated survivors like Cyntoia cope, and can prison ever be a place of transformation?
Conditions are often harsh: overcrowding, violence, and stigma. Yet, some find purpose through education, therapy, and peer support. Cyntoia's pursuit of a degree is a testament to human resilience. Still, studies show that true rehabilitation is rare in punitive systems.
Do you think her educational journey was more about survival or hope for the future?
Likely both. Learning gave her a sense of agency and hope, but also helped reframe her identity from criminal to student, and, eventually, advocate.
After her release, Cyntoia dedicated herself to advocacy, helping girls in circumstances similar to her own. What drives someone to turn suffering into activism?
Survivors like Cyntoia often feel compelled to spare others the pain they endured. Research shows that peer-led initiatives are especially effective. Survivors trust those who've walked in their shoes. Her credibility and empathy make her a powerful voice for reform.
Her story has inspired legislative changes and raised awareness about trafficking. Can you share examples of real-world impact from her advocacy?
Her case contributed to Tennessee's safe harbor law, which shields minors from prosecution for prostitution. She mentors other survivors and consults on national policies, truly creating ripples of change.
To conclude, many listeners express sorrow for innocent people suffering in prison. Cyntoia's story raises questions about justice and forgiveness. What measures could prevent such tragedies in the future?
Comprehensive reform is crucial. Trauma-informed justice, universal access to mental health care, and erasing the line between victim and offender for exploited youth. Studies show early intervention and systemic change reduce wrongful incarceration and recidivism.
Looking forward, what can individuals do to support these reforms and advocate for the vulnerable?
Educate yourself and others, support survivor-led organizations, and push for policy changes. Every voice amplifies the call for justice. One story, like Cyntoia's, can ignite a movement.